Okay, so today I'm going to share with you my study which focuses on the academic writing skills of Arab, or should I say Arabic EFL learners. And I'm going to discuss three main points. Firstly, the writing struggles of, or should I say challenges of most EFL learners as well as EFL teachers. And secondly, some theories and studies related to writing. And finally, some feasible solutions or ways to address the writing problem in the academe. So I put in three relevant studies to be a backgrounder of this study. Now, the first study was conducted by Batra, 2002, which states that the mother tongue or the first language, or we simply say L1, interferes with the language learning of the learners. So if in this case, our target language, we simply call it L2 or second language. So when learners start to learn a formal English learning, then this study explains that the first language, whatever is the first language of the student, would interfere in their learning of the second language. So in terms of thinking, so say for example, how they perceive a word or a sentence. And simply because the syntax and grammar of the student would be way different from the target language. Okay, and since my study participants are native Arabic learners, so according to Hamad, this is another study conducted in 2016, Arabic students are mostly exposed to Arabic writing styles. Hence, their academic writing in the academe would somehow would be a carryover. So from Arabic writing style would carry over to the English academic writing. And the third study conducted by San Jose and Vicencio in 2016 states that the learner's first language is syntactically and grammatically different from the target language. This would, again, of course, create the challenge. So, in the local setting, I have observed that students in higher education have struggles, have these problems in writing or producing effective essays. So that's actually in my academic writing and reading class. Now, with this in mind, I came up with this study. And there are actually a plethora of studies in language learning, language acquisition, and other English skills. But this investigation actually has a twist because I wanted to triangulate the academic writing knowledge of the students or the learners with their understanding of the different essays. So in this case, I actually focused on 4 types of essays with the common errors that they have in writing. So with this in mind, I came up with this questions. So the first is, I wanted to find out what is the level of knowledge of the students in academic writing in the 4 areas. So narrative, persuasive, argumentative, and descriptive essays. Second question, what are the characteristics of the learner's academic writing? So it actually can be described and measured through rubrics, which is actually teacher-made rubrics, and classified into 4. The first would be expert with the score, and the second would be competent, and the third level is approaching competence, and the last would be low competence. And the last question that I sought in this study is to find out what are the common errors of the students in academic writing. Now, so I anchored this study on 3 theories. First is the cognitive model of writing, which McCutcheon, Teskey, and Bumston stated that the writer attempts to map language onto his own thoughts and feelings. So, as I've said, the learners, the participants' first language interferes with the second language. And so, how they think when they are given a scenario, a situation to write an essay, so the vocabulary or the feelings, opinions that they have will automatically be based on how they think in their first language. And so that's how they would translate into their academic writing. And the second theory is the critical age hypothesis, which says that language can be acquired best before the critical period. So in language, we have language learning, we have a lot of theories. The most common actually is Noam Chomsky's language acquisition theory, which says that all normal human beings are born with an innate skill. So, and he even referred to that as the black box. So every human, normal, I would say, emphasize normal human being has that black box. And when the baby is born, it's just nothing. But when he starts to acquire language, so from the sound, whatever he sees, so he starts to fill in, to activate that black box. And here, it says that language can be best acquired before the critical period. And what is this critical period? I am talking about puberty stage. So in some studies, it was also mentioned that the best time for learners to acquire vocabulary, grammar, and language would be before the age of 15. So from early age. So some other studies say that the rule of thumb in language learning is the earlier, the better. Okay, now the third theory is the influence of first language to the second language. Now, first language influences acquisition of second language in terms of mostly phonology. So what they hear, the phonetics, how they pronounce it, the syntax, so the structure, how they write. So for example, Arabic syntax has differences as compared to the English writing. So maybe when I say structure, in most Arabic writing classes, students would just say that, Miss, it's okay to just mix up all these thoughts in one long, lengthy paragraphs instead of breaking down to chunk it. And, we try to motivate them to use transitional devices, transition words. But then they will say, Miss, it's okay. So why? Because that's how they learn. They believe that in Arabic structure, it's okay. And even the use of punctuations. Okay, and so my research methodology, as I've said, it's a triangulation. So it's a mixed method using quantitative to determine the learner's level of knowledge in academic writing. So here, I actually designed multiple choice questions, 30-item multiple choice questions. And the second method is qualitative method, well, to analyze the written text. So it's like content analysis. And, well, according to Massey, 1999, triangulation is used to conform and establish consistency and credibility of the results of the research. So my participants are native Arabic speakers, and they are academic writing students, and I actually used two instruments. So two participants, students as well as the test, which was subjected for the content analysis with the writing rubrics. And the procedure I used, at first, of course, I identified the problem, so what I observed. So this is actually, an action research. Now, if you are handling any course or class, now take note of what problem is feasible in your class, so then use it as your research. So after that, I formulated the research proposal and construct the assessment. So that's the 30-item test with the marking rubrics. And it was actually a subject for iterator, okay, to, of course, dispel the bias. And then the content of assessment, and then the content analysis. So the results yield that the level of knowledge of the students, okay, 28% had difficulty identifying appropriate connectors. 23% struggled with proper diction, and 43% had confusion identifying the types of essays, while 80% had trouble with spelling. Okay, so now these are the writing characteristics, the content analysis. This is the result. So as to content, they have clear thesis, but then they don't really have supporting details. And organization, the ideas are mostly incoherent and illogical. As to grammar, errors in, well, the most common, capitalization, punctuation, structure, and spelling. And as to style and mechanics, the use of inappropriate diction, copied or repetitive statements. Now, just to show you some examples, these are the common errors. So, spelling and, let's see. Oh, sorry. So, as you can see here, even the spacing and repetitive words. And here, yeah, so, okay, so these are just the common errors. The use of connectors, they don't really have a good idea of, transiting from one paragraph to the other. And so as for my conclusions, children acquire second language easily as compared to adults. But that should begin before the critical stage, meaning before the puberty stage. And the learners need more exposure to an English-speaking environment to, of course, lessen the effects of first language and to intensify English learning, focusing on weak areas and skills. So the last is the most important, I guess, which is for the academe, the management, teachers, module developers to revisit the curriculum to address the language learning and teaching issues. And of course, implement tested and effective English programs. So, thank you. And